Hey, what's happening, y'all? Matt here with Audio Mutt, and in this video, we're talking about what I did to turn this into this. Let's dive in. You silly mutt. Okay, so this is the guitar in question. Take a look at that. Not bad, not bad. So let's talk a little bit about the story here. So what happened was my father-in-law, a good friend of his, brought him an old guitar. He doesn't really play or anything, but he had expressed interest and he had talked about me and what I've been doing. So his friend just came over and was like, Junior, I want you to have this. I feel like you'll take good care of it, and maybe get your son-in-law to take a look at it and look at fixing it up. The guitar that was brought to me was an old 1960s Airline Hollowbody. An extremely old guitar. It was in pretty bad shape. It had some stickers on it. The finish had really worn away. The wood was old and drying and cracking in places, and it needed a lot of work. And so he brought the guitar to me to see if I could fix it up. And I took a look at it, and it was in really bad shape. I told him I wasn't sure how well I could actually do on repairing and refurbishing that guitar, but that I would give it a try. And so we did. The electronics were a mess. Really weird old, like, coiled cabling, and the pickups weren't really connected. Some of the other issues I noticed besides the cracks in the wood were that the cable or the wire for the neck pickup had been just taken across the body and dropped in the F hole. They didn't actually drill a hole where there's a slot for the cable to actually run down in the riser. That didn't actually get drilled out. So there was this curve in the finish where the cable ran, or where the wire ran. So that was pretty ugly. It was well played. You could tell, like, the back of the neck was, the finish was pretty much rubbed off. It wasn't in bad shape necessarily because it was mistreated. It did look like it didn't really have a case or anything to go with it, but Airline was, even back in the 60s, was a cheaper line of guitars. So it just looked like it had been well loved and well played, probably by a kid, because there was like a flower sticker and like a seahorse sticker on the back. So it looked like it was one that someone had gotten and maybe handed down, or that was maybe originally purchased for a kid. I don't know the full story. But it was a well-loved and well-played guitar. And that just over the next, so for over the next 60 years, wore it down a bit. The hardware was very eroded, and the frets were worn completely down flat. So it needed a complete refret. It needed a complete refinish. It needed all new hardware. The tuning pegs were shot, but they were older tuning pegs that used a smaller hole. So those, once the finish got stripped, those had to be widened out to fit the new tuning pegs. All that had to be sanded back and cleaned up, and the finish stripped away, and it needed a new nut. It was missing a nut. It did have a lot of holes in the body that looked like maybe someone had put a pick guard in place at one point and then removed it. So those all had to be filled and then sanded down so that I could spray the finish on top of it. And so it's been a big project, but it's been a good one, and we got it done. It is finally all together and playable. I wasn't sure if the pickups were actually going to work, and I'm not familiar with these pickups. And the issue was, we're funding this out of our own pocket, and These are extremely thin. Let's see if I can pull it up here so you can kind of see here. So you can see there's the wooden riser. And then on top of that wooden riser is a really thin pickup. That's a single coil, looks like a gold foil pickup. We did some research on it and found some replacements, but there was like $200 a pickup, and we could not afford that. So we were kind of in the position of, okay, well, I guess we're wiring this up and hoping it works. Got everything together, and we've been trying to keep it a secret, make it a surprise. And just this last trip back home, I got to show my father-in-law some pictures of the guitar and let him know finally, hey, this is almost done. We've been doing this for you. That was pretty awesome to see his face. And we got him a new strap. We bought him some gold strap locks. Fortunately, I still had some tuning machines left over from my StewMac build, so I was able to use those. However, I was missing some of the screws. I had to go find some new screws, but I did find, and number 3 screws to fit this were a challenge, but I did manage to find some that were brass that kind of matched the gold color. And that's when we stripped it. Originally, you saw it was kind of a reddish, tobacco brown, orange burst type of thing. But knowing my father-in-law, him and my wife both kind of like sparkly, solid, metallic kind of finished things that are really bright and eye-catching. So I let my wife pick what the finish would be, and she wanted to do a gold top. So we just did it completely gold except for the binding. I did tape off the binding before spraying color this time, and that did work significantly better than scraping. Still a pain in the butt to get all the tape in place and then carefully pull all the tape off without causing cracks in the finish, but got it done. Also, spraying a metallic finish is very different from spraying tinted lacquer. I did a complete refret on the guitar. That was a challenge. That was my first refret job. But it came out okay. The other thing that I wanted to mention here, and I should have gotten some pictures, but I didn't, is the fingerboard was very faded. It was a very light red kind of color that did not look good with the gold, black, and chrome. It just did not. So there's a thing. It's this stuff. Monty's Guitars, Monty Espresso. So we learned about this watching a video from Anderton's. And what it is a wax. And you can take polishing cloth, or I use a shop towel, rub it on there, and then rub that on your fingerboard and kind of go all the way down your fingerboard, rubbing each fret and rubbing this into the wood. And then once you go all the way down, go back up to where you started and kind of rub it in and rub it off with a clean section of your cloth or shop towel. And yeah, it takes it to, I mean, you see this here. It took it from a kind of old, faded, and really soft feeling fingerboard to a nice, dark, not quite ebony, but really dark looking fingerboard with just a couple applications. So sometimes, depending on how dark you're wanting the fingerboard to look and how bad the finish or how light the fingerboard is, you might have to do several applications, but it works great. So the Monty Espresso from Monty's Guitars, it's a company over in the UK, so it will require some extra shipping, but it's a little thing that lasts forever and well worth it. It does have a free-floating bridge that was really weird for me. I've never worked on one of those before. Like, my violin has one, but I bought that violin. I didn't work on it. So So getting that set up on a guitar was a little weird, and it still has a little bit of buzzing at the before on open, on low E and low A. I've been adjusting the bridge and kind of trying to iron that out, and it's getting better, but that's still kind of an issue. That's enough of hearing me prattle. Let's plug this thing in and take a listen. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up for what I wanted to show in this video. This was a really cool project. I learned a lot. There were some guitar technician techniques, I guess, or, the tasks that I wasn't that good at before that I feel like this helped me to get a better understanding on. I also have a better understanding about why some of these repairs are so daggum expensive, because refret job is a task. There's a lot of risk of damaging the guitar, and even if you do a good job, it's still tricky to fix the little damages that are going to take place regardless. So that especially, but overall, even though it still has some issues, came out okay. And I think this is going to make a good present for my father-in-law. And I'm excited to finally get to reveal this to you guys and kind of show what I've been working on. And I'm even more excited to finally get to present this to my father-in-law and see his face when he has this beauty in his hands, because it's a beautiful guitar, and it is definitely a show guitar, and that's what the purpose of this was. So I hope it lasts for many years to come, and that he's able to look at that periodically and get a smile on his face. So that's it for now. There are some more cool things in the works. A couple things that I'm not ready to quite mention yet, but I've got some people I'm talking to about doing some potentially really cool things. And as soon as I can do so without putting my foot in my mouth, I will let you guys know, and we'll be in touch. I'll let you know what's going on and fill you in as I can. But that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys so much. You're awesome, and have a good one.